In this episode of Translation Thursday, I want to show you how the article, or the word ha in Greek, can be translated other ways other than the. Sometimes it's translated as a personal pronoun, sometimes as a demonstrative. The technical name for this example is called anaphoric. So let me show you. I'm going to use the article in 1 Timothy 1:5. It's this one right here. But I need to go back to verse 3 and translate through so you can get some context. So Paul writes, "Just as I urged you to remain in Ephesus while going," that is, while I was going, Paul, into Macedonia. And the reason that he wanted him to remain was in order that he might command certain people not to teach other doctrines, nor to devote themselves to myths and genealogies endless. And then to talk about those myths and genealogies, you say, which speculations produce rather than the stewardship of God. And the characteristic of the stewardship is that it is by faith. Okay, then we get to verse 5. But the goal of the command is love from a pure heart and a good conscience and a sincere faith. Okay, how are you going to translate this article? Now, if you would just go word for word, you would say, but the goal of the commandment. And the problem is you go, well, what commandment? Well, there's two hints here. One is that this noun is used in a verbal form. So to command people to stop teaching, the goal of the command that I just told you about, and the way that Greek will often connect these two words, other than using the same word, is the use of what's called an anaphoric article. In other words, the function of this case is to say, but the goal of the commandment, meaning the commandment I just talked to you about, and here it's really easy to find it because it's the same root, different words. One's a verb, one's a noun. But this is the anaphoric article. So that's what it says in Greek, and that's what it means in Greek. But the final question the translator has to answer is, how do I say that in English? You can't really say, but the goal of the commandment, because it really leaves things open. Well, what commandment? People may not pick up the linkage up to here. Well, it's very legitimate to translate the article, or the word ha, more accurately, as in different ways. One is to say this, but the goal of this commandment. In other words, the one I just told you about. And you can see that we do that, and the NIV does that, the goal of this commandment. Over here in the NASB, they do it as a possessive. Now, that is a legitimate translation of the article, but it doesn't help you move from instruction here up to the instruct here. I mean, obviously, it's the same word in English, and you can make the connection, but I don't think our is very helpful. If you look at some of the other translations, we're going to go to ESV, but the aim of our charge, again, they're keeping that translation. CSB, the goal of our instruction. The NRSV, but the aim of such instruction. Net Bible, the aim of our instruction. NLT, the purpose of my instruction. Now, those are all legitimate translations because ha is such a flexible word in Greek. But I would prefer a translation that helps the reader get the connection between parangelios and its verbal form, parangeles. And the translation of the article, the anaphoric article, the looking back article, as a demonstrative does it beautifully because that is the function of the demonstrative article I should say, one of the functions of the demonstrative word in English. So the goal of this command. But either way you go, that's a very legitimate, all of these are very legitimate translations of the article. And that's why you can get differences among different translations. It also shows you why you can't go from the English back to the Greek. If you've watched or listened to me very often, you know that this is something I talk a lot about. Because if you see the aim of our charge, if you think that the English points to the Greek, you're looking for the Greek word for hour. And you come over here, and guess what? You don't find it. Hour is an interpretive translation of the article ha. Perfectly legitimate, though.